All right, so today we're talking about a new pedal that came out a couple months ago, and if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I don't understand it at all, but I love it. So this is the Glitch Witch by Cosmodio Instruments. Like I said before, I don't understand how this works. I don't get it. I can tell you things about it. I'm not sure I understand what those things mean. So number one, it is an entirely analog subsonic logic fuzz. Now, while I understand what analog means, subsonic fuzz, I believe it has to do with essentially a modulation aspect to this fuzz pedal. So right off the top on this side, which is my right, your left, we have just a rather unique fuzz circuit, and it is a gnarly fuzz circuit. We're talking the fuzziest of fuzzes. Think Jack White. And with that, you can control how much of your clean signal is in there. You can control how loud it is. There is a gate, and then there are dip switches that are EQ dip switches. So on the low dip switch, if you turn it to the left, you'll find that you have less bass. If you're in the middle, it's a pretty balanced bass. And then if you're on the right, it means you have some pretty heavy bass going on. Same thing for the high. And so what it allows you to do is it allows you to kind of get different EQ frequency bands, so to speak. In the instruction booklet, it talks about how if they're both in the center, you have a pretty balanced, warm fuzz. If you cut them both, then you end up with like this cool kind of lo-fi telephone sound. And then when you turn them both on high, you get kind of a nice mid-scooped frequency range. And then of course you can blend and do all sorts of stuff there. So that's the fuzz side. Then on my left, your right, we have the modulation side. And it's wacky, all right? This is where we get into the side of the pedal that I don't fully understand how it works, but I can tell you what it does. So first things first, when you engage the divide side, it takes your guitar's signal and then it drops it down anywhere from 2 to 8 octaves, and then it feeds it back into the fuzz, and then through some sort of witchcraft in there, some might call it glitch witchcraft, it gives you 3 options as far as what it will do to your overall signal. So on this here voice toggle switch, you'll see that it can go left, center, and right, same as the low and high frequency dip switches. And when it's on the left, it does chop mode. So basically what happens is feeding that sub-octave sound back into your fuzz comes out in a choppy, like a really intense tremolo or like a ring modulator. Then when you have it in the center knob, that's where we get into an actual modulation where it does like a frequency modulation, meaning that it will jump between the octaves that you choose to switch it to. And then the right switch over here, they call it unstable. It basically is just super chaotic, and how much gate you turn on there can affect how chaotic it is. So if the gate is all the way down, it's super chaotic. If the gate is all the way up, it's less chaotic. The divisor knob right here dictates how many octaves it drops down. So when it's all the way turned down like this, it drops it down 1 octave, and then as you move through each of these notches, you get all the way to 8 octaves down. Now 8 octaves, once we get past 2 octaves, the human ear can't really always hear what's going on there, and so instead it comes across more as like these kind of pulses or this kind of percussive feel. And that's where we get this modulation side of things. Obviously the depth knob up in the upper corner here is pretty self-explanatory. It basically controls how much of the modulation effect is pushed through your normal fuzz signal. And the crazy part is that the rate of the modulation is controlled by how low or high you're playing on your guitar, meaning that the lower you play, the slower the modulation is, and the higher you play, the faster it is. We're going to see that in a couple seconds in the examples that I have. Now I just got to say something real quick. In order to understand like what all of these switches actually do to your signal, I had to watch Cosmodio Instruments' actual video that they made on it. And like I tried to read their instruction manual, and it was just like way too much for my little pea brain. But there was a sentiment in here that I did understand. When the humble CMOS logic gate was first forged from crystalline silicon, nobody imagined that these seemingly simple analog devices could be harnessed to create unimaginable sonic chaos. Proceed with caution, or don't. Actually, go ballistic and have some fun. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think that's the best part about this pedal. When you don't exactly understand how something works and when something's new, it allows you to turn your brain off, to stop being a guitarist and to be an artist, to start messing around with things that are new and interesting and exciting, and to just use your ears rather than your brain. And that's exactly what I did as I created this track. So as you guys know, when I make a video on a specific product, I like to kind of build a little 2-minute song based on that product where I try to put it on as many things in the track as I can. I of course did that. You'll hear it in a second. But before we do that, I wanted to pull up some of the sounds that I got out of this thing so you could hear them in isolation before you hear them in the mix. So let's get into that. All right, so this first sound had the divisor dropped by about 4 to 6 octaves. I had the depth kind of turned down a little bit more so you could hear a lot of the fuzz, and it just gave it this really gnarly, cool, gritty sound. Let's give that a listen. So this one I would describe as like kind of on the edge of chaos, where it kind of keeps pulling down into those lower octaves a little bit, but yet it pops back in every now and then and it tries to stay as stable as it can. I felt like that was a good foundation. Up next we have an example of how you can kind of turn it into like an octave fuzz. Let's give that a listen. It's really holding down the foundation as that octave fuzz. Then, of course, we have the unstable sound. Definitely has some chaos in there. And then lastly, in the track that I built, I did some slide guitar, and I did this because I wanted to have just a really long slide where you could hear, as I slide up the entire high E string, the rate of the modulation increases as it goes on. It's a really cool effect. Keeps trying to drop into different octaves. It's just a really wild sound. It just has this overall feeling of like tumbling down a hill. I don't know. I think it's pretty rad. This is probably the first pedal that I've ever bought where I didn't understand it, but I had tons of fun with it. And I think it needs to be stated that this is not meant to be your new overdrive pedal or maybe even your new fuzz pedal. This is meant to be what it is, which is the Glitch Witch, and it's meant to be chaotic, it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be wild, and it's meant to be something where you can create and curate different sounds that you won't hear every day coming out of your amp. And honestly, I think that's what's really cool about it. I think it does something that feels like Frankenstein's monster. It feels alive and unruly, and I think you need that every now and then. So I'm definitely keeping this in the arsenal for, you know, when a client needs something that's loud, chaotic, and wild, because that's exactly what it is. Like I said before, we're going to go ahead and listen to the track that I built around this pedal. Everything except for the drums has the Glitch Witch on it, and you can hear that it's just chaos. And probably not the best idea to create a song where every single track has fuzz on it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun and I had fun making it. So, you know, sue me, whatever. Anyway, this is the Glitch Witch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. A huge shout out to Cosmodio Instruments. They're doing really, really cool stuff over there. They're pushing the boundaries of what a pedal can and should do, which in my opinion is the most rock and roll thing that you could do. So go give them a follow, go check this out, pick one up today, and yeah, I think the song and the sounds speak for themselves. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Mac Wright. If you are new here, please like and subscribe. If you are returning, thank you guys so much for being a part of the channel. Please go make someone else's day better, and we will see you around.